we alluded to Offset. Why don't we jump to Father of Four? Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about this. I'll let you kind of set the table.
Yeah, Father Four, Offset's debut solo album, the last solo album of the Migos solo albums. Of course, we reviewed Quavo Honcho and The Last Rocket from Quavo and Takeoff, and of course Culture 2, which dropped at the beginning of last year. This kind of completes that run, right? And
We did it. We
yeah,
made it.
we did it. There's a lot of the streets were fed. Let's put it that way. Um, and Offset obviously he's been in the news a lot, the tabloids, because for his up and down relationship with Cardi B, to say the least. And she of course pops up on this. But yeah, when the prospect of the solo albums first started, everyone initially wanted the Quavo album the most, but then like the real heads were like, yeah, but Offset, he's really the best Migo. He'll have the best one. I do think he had the best solo album pretty easily.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think it's great though. I think like a lot of this Migos run, unfortunately, is just a little overstuffed and just goes on a little too long. And when he does that, Offset's good technical flow. You understand what he's saying, goes hard most of the time, still can get a little monotonous, right? Just
Mhm.
like Takeoff's more lyrical, punchliney flow can get a little monotonous when you've heard 30 tracks from him, right? So that's kind of how I felt about Offset by the end. But I think this is a pretty solid project and ultimately ends this run on a high note. I think this is better than Culture 2. I think and clearly better than the other two solo tracks. My hope is that they don't make Culture 3 this year. Let's slow down just a second, you know? Do features if you want. Offset's features are consistently pretty solid. Um, but yeah, could have been shorter, but I think it was pretty solid. Songs like Legacy with Travis and 21. Always great to
Mhm.
hear 21 verse, especially now, but his streak continues pretty strong. And then I really like just solo tracks from the original single, Red Room and Lick. I thought was really cool too. Got a last minute Cole feature on this. So I think there's a lot to like on this. But again, like as a project, as a body of work, it's not the strongest thing in the world. But yeah, I think Offset again proved that he's just probably brings the most to the table as far as Migos members goes right now. At least as long as Quavo continues to phone things in. But I'm also happy to slow down with Migos for a little bit. What about you?
It's interesting as you're talking about what we expected from each one of them. Um, it's almost kind of like Takeoff. We were like, oh, you know what? This is better than I expected. Like you can tell he's kind of coming into his own. And Quavo, you're just kind of like, okay, he's phoning it in. Like we kind of know what we're expecting from all of them. And I think that this album is kind of what I expected. Like it was a solid album that was probably 4 or 5 tracks too long. But that's kind of been the MO for Migos since Culture 2 dropped, is that they're just going to make these really long albums to get those stream numbers up. And I think Offset is pretty good on this. I think there's a couple of good features. Cole, I was kind of, I mean, he's been on a good feature run, but I didn't think that this was his best one. I think Gunna sounded better on Wild Wild West than he did on any of the songs on his album, ironically.
Classic Gunna.
But yeah, Legacy stood out. It's always nice to hear Cardi B. When she came in on Cloud, I was like, okay, like I enjoy hearing Cardi. Um, other than that, nothing really too much. I guess you're right. Probably Red Room stood out to me as a decent song off this, but I'm just kind of bored with Migos, honestly. I think, I know that they want to stay in the consciousness, keep getting that money. I don't blame them for that. But I think there's a little bit of Migos fatigue for me. And I think probably for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, they just kind of need a break. So I agree with your sentiment. Take a little bit of time. Make sure that Culture 3 or whatever you name your next album has a little bit more substance to it, a little bit more something to say. Because I do think that they have more to offer than they have been, but I think they're comfortable. They know that this is going to move records. It's going to move money. So why would they change it up? And I think that they can. I think they have enough clout at this point where they can take a chance and try something different, and they're still going to get those numbers up. So
Yeah, I've been thinking like I'm not sure how much of this like feed the streets, streams onus is from them, and also from quality control QC
Mm,
their label because like QC whole MO has been to do this with everyone. They did this with Little Yachty. Little Yachty put out two bad records last year.
mm,
Little Yachty, he's someone who definitely needs to focus on what he's good at, figure out what that is exactly, and then focus on that, right? But he
yeah.
wasn't doing that. But it was like, Yachty, put your shit out, man. It'll be fine. But no, it hurts your brand. And Migos, like I let's listen to Offset do his GQ uh, uh, always answered thing on YouTube, and
Hmm.
Offset actually he comes across as a pretty thoughtful dude, um, which is not what I expected because I never really heard him speak too much, but he's pretty well spoken like Quavo. Um, so it's like they're actually pretty smart guys, and obviously they've been businessmen for a while now. So I hope they could recognize that they got to slow down. But I haven't really heard them comment on it one way or the other yet. So tough to be too confident in as long as they're on QC. Um, and in terms of like the thoughtful tracks, like I thought he started off really strong on the sound with Father Before the title track, talking about all his kids and how he like struggled being a dad, a young dad, being in and out of jail and stuff like that before he was famous. All right, that's genuine, you know.
Hmm.
But he kind of loses sight of that throughout the album, of course. So I think kind of like Quavo and Takeoff for that matter, they kind of like scratch the surface of like something more. But they kind of just fall into their old habits because they know they're reliable and will get listened to. So, I really hope Culture 3 or whatever it is really solid because unfortunately Culture 1 is the best thing they've made, and there's been four Migos projects since then that aren't as good.
Yeah, it's an interesting point how he really starts off the very thoughtful track on this, and then by the third song, "Lick Tats on My Face" is number four. He kind of loses sight of that, and it's actually, I think a bit disappointing because he has his brother or cousin Quavo. Always forget.
Cousin.
Cousin. Um, he has his cousin on this who he came up with and became famous with. He's got his on again, off again girlfriend, wife, baby mama, however you want to put it, on a song. And those two songs are clout and on fleek. Like you could have leaned into like that more thoughtful sphere or concept with this and done an album that probably would have been more surprising and a little deeper. But uh, like I said, they keep with what they know, and they know that those kind of songs will move. So it is what it is.